everybody. I'm Lzzy Hale. Welcome back to Raise Your Horn. Thank you so much for joining me. Man, I got to catch you up on the last week. First and foremost, did you check out last Saturday, the D4 Festival? It was amazing. I had it on all day. I couldn't get enough. So many new acts that I'm now obsessed with. So many amazing performances by my friends and so many people. It's just what a great day of music, and for such a good cause. We're helping save all of the stages, all of these amazing venues that are our holy places in music, and these places that we have so many memories of that are now struggling because of COVID-19 and everything else going on in the world. The fundraiser, however, is still going. It is ongoing, so make sure that if you can, please give back something. If you can't, make sure you spread the word and to some other people who are able to do so. As far as news with me, if you're not sick of me already, I have a new song out with Apocalyptica called Talk to Me. So go check that out. Our Hailstorm, we just released a EP called Reimagined, where we have reimagined a bunch of your favorite songs by us. And then we committed to one cover, which is I Will Always Love You. So if you really want to just take a crack at that, go check that out as well. What else is going on? Oh, I need to reiterate how important it is to vote. I know you're just getting hounded, and this is the only thing in politics that I'm really going to bring up today, but it is so important. It is a right. We fought for it. Especially like you ladies out there, there is no excuse not to vote. If you are not registered, it is really easy to register. Go and do that. And make sure all your friends and family are registered and go out and vote as well. It's an event. It's happening. It's extremely important. Do it. Next week on the show, I have Kathy Valentine of the infamous, famous, amazing Go-Go's. So make sure you tune in next week as well. But right now, we're going to get right down to it because this lovely man, the first man that I'm going to bring on our show today, we've been friends for a little while, and we're getting to know each other a little deeper. But he is a fashion designer, a label executive, a tequila drinker, and a rock and roll champion. Please welcome to the show, Mr. John Varvatos. Hi, John.
Hey, Lzzy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Was that a good enough intro for you?
I love it. Yes, and I'm thinking about getting a tequila right. I should have one in my hand right now, but right after we're done, it's Friday. I kind of want to start early.
Right. What is your tequila of choice? I know you went in with Nick Jonas on something a little while ago.
Yeah, we have our own tequila brand called Villa One that we launched last fall, which is definitely my tequila of choice. So very exciting, and it's available pretty much everywhere right now. So terrific. So tequila is the one healthy spirit out there as well too. There's no sugar, and my trainer always says to me when he asks me what I ate and drank the night before, he always says, if you drank tequila, I'm okay with it.
Oh, that's good to know. It's good to know. All you health buffs out there, that is straight from John's house. And his trainer recommended. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I remember being really sick in Germany one time. We had this headlining show, this beautiful theater, and I was just sick, and it was my birthday on top of that, and so it's just like one of those things. Like they called a doctor in. I had like an IV taped up to a wall, and the doctor turns to me. He's like, "You know what you need? You need a dark beer. Go out and get a dark beer." Well, the doctor said that I need to go out and get a dark beer. So yeah, so doctors and trainers, they know what's up.
Exactly.
John, you are awesome, by the way. I've had so much fun just looking just deeper into your history. And I want to start kind of in a broad way. Obviously, you know, your clothing speaks rock and roll. You took over CBGB's and honored its legacy with your clothing. You have a love of rock and roll photography, as we can see in your background. I just want to get back. You started your label. I want to get kind of to the core tenets of all those things. So I want to ask you first and foremost, what is rock and roll to you? What is your view of that?
Well, for me, it's my energy source. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I grew up in Detroit with Iggy and the Stooges, the MC5, Alice Cooper, that type of thing, and then people like Zeppelin and that coming over in the '70s. And it it I grew up in this little house, like 800 square feet, with seven people and one bathroom, and it transported me. Rock and roll with my headphones on transported me to places all over the world. In my mind, I was just transported, and I feel like it's freedom. It's a voice of raise your fist and tell your story. And yeah, it's for me. It's probably, other than my family, I would say it's kind of the most important thing on a day to day in my life.
That's awesome. And that's what it is for most of us,
Yeah,
and I feel like rock and roll isn't necessarily a choice, because I always feel like I got bitten by the bug when I was 13, and if I had if I had thought about music like it was going to be a career or something to make me money or fame or anything, I probably would have picked any other genre, anything else, But
yeah,
rock and roll has always been this underground, this attitude, and you absolutely just exude that in your clothing. Like, my guys have worn your stuff to the Grammys. It's awesome. I just love the fact that you were actually the first clothing brand that my guys were like, oh, cool, we can actually be cool too, because there's a lot of things that you can do as a girl in rock and roll to like rock
for
stuff
sure.
up, but like the guys have it a little harder, and like you can't just go to any place and feel cool in the clothing that they're offering. So, but as far as you're in New York right now, aren't you?
Yep, yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very.
As far as the CBGB venture, was that something that you were seeking out, or did the opportunity come to you?
Yeah, it was one of those impulsive things. CB's had been closed for 2 years, sitting dormant there. And a friend of mine was trying to get me to do a club with him, and next door to CB's, and I went over and looked at it. And he said, well, I just took a 30-year master lease on the building where CB's is. And I said, what are you going to do with it? He said, well, I'm talking to like Bank of America and, CVS or something. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And so I said, "Can I take a look inside?" This was just never gave it one thought. I walked inside, and it was kind of a disaster because it had been trashed when they moved out and everything. But that night I came home and I thought about it, and I'm like, CVS, Bank of America, like that place has so much history, and I'm not going to try to make it CBGB's, but maybe I can save live music on the Bowery. And so, because we also have done hundreds of shows in that store as well, and with people that so I decided, it was an impulsive thing, that I was going to go in there and try to make money so that I could do live shows there, not money to make money, to reinvest into the community there, to keep the music going. And now it's been, I think, about 12 years that we've been in there.
That's amazing. I remember being so happy when I heard that, because when CB's closed, and we were very lucky as my band to get to play there, and I just remember it being so magical. If any of you listening at home had never been there, you could push into the walls because there was posters. I remember like leaning against the wall and being like, whoa, like what's going on? And of course, like the bathroom is legendary. I don't know. It was just such a cool thing. It's part of like just the heritage of rock and roll. And I remember thinking like, why doesn't the city like, or anybody be like, dude, we have to preserve this in some way. And you absolutely honor that legacy in such a beautiful way. And so just,
Thank you.
made my heart happy.
Yeah, it changed my life in a lot of ways too, because I felt the duty in a way. Once I was in there, I felt it was a little ominous what I had undertook, and I felt the duty to really make sure that we always honored it. Of course, we're a retail store, so it can't be what it was, but that if there's a kid from Sweden that's in the US that comes with this backpack, which is the kind of people we saw every single day, and they want to see where the Ramones played or Talking Heads or whoever it was at that time. They can still come in and not have to worry about being bothered or spending money or anything. And so that part of it, and then also being able to do so many great live shows there over the year that were always free, that were always unbelievably exciting, and the hair stood up on your arm to say, like, seriously, these people are playing in here. They just came from a stadium or arena, and this is where they're playing. And so that part of it also, for the people that have been to those shows, they're some of the most memorable shows ever, for sure.
That's awesome. And you made it into a shrine, you know.
Thank you.
That just so happens to have some really cool stuff in it now. But yeah, did you end up immersing yourself into the New York City music scene back in the day, or did you just kind of keep to your?
Well, of course I followed it back then. We had no internet or anything, but I followed it through magazines like Cream Magazine and those type of things. And I remember in 1977, I drove over from Michigan with some friends of mine. I grew up in Detroit, and we went to CBGB's. We went to a few places on that weekend, but we went to CBGB's, and I just remember the scene outside the club before everybody went in, waiting for the doors to open and that. And it was the craziest people. And the Bowery back then was like a war zone too. So it wasn't like gentrified. Today it's in between being gentrified and not, Back then it was far from it. So yeah, I always was following every music scene. I was kind of obsessive from a kid, whether it was a UK scene or, I always dreamed of being able to go to London to see what was happening there. And so, yeah, and then the LA scene and so on and so forth.
It's just been a part of your life. Did you ever, in the Greenwich Village, did you ever visit Don Hill's at all?
Sure. I was there. I was there during the later days too, where they were trying to keep it going and that type of thing. But Don Hill's was a great place, though. There were so many great small clubs back in the day, for sure, in New York. Now there still are, but most of them actually are in Brooklyn.
Oh, interesting. That's awesome. I'm glad that it's still going. I'm from Pennsylvania, but we actually, Don Hill himself, we used to call him Batman. I don't really even remember why. I just remember like he would like disappear for a long period of time, and then he would like just reappear kind of behind you, but it's like, hey, but he's always really nice to us, and he gave us a residency there, wow. Like it would be like the first Wednesday of every month. So what we would do, being in Pennsylvania, we would pack up a van full of all of our super fans and bring them to New York to try to make everybody think that we packed out the club.
That's pretty cool.
But no, Don Hill was integral in us getting signed to Atlantic in 2005. So
he's definitely a legend. He definitely was a legend for sure. Yeah.
That's cool. Did you ever talk to Night Bob? He frequented there.
Yeah.
The guy haircut. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like a bowl cut.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I remember. So he would be running our sound for those shows, and he would tell me stories about Iggy and the Stooges, and
he did the sound for so many people. It's like even in our space at the Bowery, he was still doing sound for people. Coming in and doing sound that didn't have their own sound guy, Yeah. So it was pretty amazing.
That's cool, man. I love hearing about it. And there is something magical about the New York City scene. And obviously, like you're from Detroit, and there is so much heritage and rock and roll heritage in Detroit. I mean, Bob Seger, MC5,
yeah,
Susie Quatro, Iggy and the Stooges,
Alice, Ted
Alice.
Nugent.
I mean, like just literally pick anybody's notes, and you can probably trace it back to Detroit. I heard a little rumor that you may or may not be working on something about music from Detroit, some kind of documentary.
Well, I did a documentary, a 4-part series that's on Epic's network that is called Punk. And it wasn't about Detroit, but it was about the punk scene from starting in Detroit when no one knew it was punk with like Iggy and the Stooges, coming to New York, London, the LA scene, the hardcore scene. So it's kind of like the ultimate. It was a 4-hour, 4-part series. It's still on Epix. You can go on Epix on your television and watch it. So that does talk about it. But I'm working on a couple of other documentaries too. Nothing specifically about Detroit, but somehow Detroit always has to creep into it. And I had a radio show on Sirius XM for about 5 years, and for about the first 3 years, I called it Born in Detroit, because I was born, and I took music that was rooted in Detroit, that kind of came or was influenced from there, and also music from Detroit through those early days, through Jack White and all those type of people. So yeah, for me, Detroit is also a big part of my DNA still.
That's awesome. Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about your label endeavor. I mean, you started your own label with Big Machine, correct?
Yep. Yeah,
And
I'm sorry.
oh no, I was just going to ask when and why.
Okay. Yeah, I actually started a label, John Varvatos Records, about 5 or 6 years ago with Universal, with Republic. And we put out a number of different artists there. The first album I put out was not a rock album, but it had some rock songs on it, which was Zac Brown Band. And so you start off with the first record and you do double platinum, and then it was all downhill from there. But but yeah, we on that album we actually got Chris Cornell to do a song that went #1 in rock, that we did with Zac as well. But I did that, and actually Bad Flower I signed back then. And I decided, Scott Borchetta and I, with Big Machine, had been a really good friend, and also a rock star himself. But he was a rocker when he was in the LA scene and that, and he, we always used to talk about rock, and he kind of got behind Cheap Trick and got them back on the map and helped get them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so when my deal was up with them, rather than renew it, I decided, let's do a label that's only rock and roll. So Scott and I decided that we're going to just really be the label for rock and roll and really go after it. But for the most part, young rock and roll, not we love classic rock and all that, but we really want to give young artists an opportunity. So we brought Bad Flower along with us, which has been they had an amazing year last year. Awesome. And we have another great band from Chicago that we signed, and then Ayron, who's going to be on with us today. And we're into discovery. We're into finding the real deals. We're not looking for the one that sounds like somebody else that's out there. We're looking for the real deal that has their own DNA and personality. But yes, they may wear some influences on their sleeve, because we all have influences. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we're really digging in deep on it now, because we've got some good momentum with it and a good reputation with it already, and people who care, and your management as well. I've been good friends with them for a long time, and they those are people who love rock and roll. I mean, they really do. And there's not, in a world of music today, there's a smaller group of those people than who love pop or hip hop or rap or whatever. We're no longer in the leadership. Yeah. So it's great to be around people who, like, even, spending time with you, because it's, as you said, it's in our blood, it's running in our veins, and you really want to, and you don't want to look back always. You want to look forward. Like the music that you do, you're looking forward at the same time. You're not forgetting who you are and what you're made of, but you're looking forward. And that's the exciting thing, I think, about rock and roll. And in these times, with all of the crazy shit going on in this world, this is the time when rock and roll needs to rise up and have a voice and tell the stories and really talk to all the issues that are out there, because the silly pop song doesn't do that, and so this is the time for rock and roll, and we feel very strongly about it right now, that with all the angst out there, it's a good time for rock and roll.
Oh, dude, that is so great to hear, especially obviously from the horse's mouth, and also, a label exec's mouth, because, you look for certain things, and I love how you just expanded about you personally look for an artist and having it be the real thing, and them. I don't know about you, but I think that everybody can tell, when the difference between somebody, no matter how great they are as a musician, if they're not solely invested in what they're doing and it's not actually who they are, it's just so apparent. Maybe you can fool some people for a little while, but I love the fact that you're just backing behind that, and that's part of your mission statement.
It is, and it's our passion, really. And I think in life, all of what we do is so much driven by our passion, and I think that the mission statement is really what that all encompasses.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, on that note, we should probably bring Mr. Ayron on here. So, guys, my next guest on the show, and we're just gonna throw him in here. His song "Take Me Away" is out now. He has a new song, "Boys from the Puget Sound," is going to be released on September 11th. His new album is coming in 2021. Let's get Ayron in here. Ayron Jones, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Ayron.
What's up, you guys? How you doing?
He's gone for a pee break or something. Welcome to the show. So for those of you who are in the chat right now, all of my freak family knows that I have been raving about Ayron Jones for a while now. Your voice and your guitar playing and your overall, just your attitude. My first thing, so some of our mutual management sent me some of your songs, right? Just on Spotify or the links. And then I just decided I'm going to go and look at some of your live stuff on YouTube. And Jesus, you blew my mind. So you're one out of a handful of rockers right now that I'm really, really digging. And thank you so much for joining me on the show. This is a treat for me.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
And John has been integral in your journey as well. I heard that you and John met when he saw you at the Crocodile in Seattle. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was putting on a show with the Crocodile, and John had come in and kind of to check me out along with some cats from Big Machine, and we kind of just hit it off. I mean, what freaked me out, what doesn't freak me out, but it was it was kind of a shock. He walks in with Duff McKagan, and I'm like, Duff McKagan? So, but yeah, John had to come in, man, and just, from the first impression, I could already tell that John was a huge music fan, and for him to take the time, I mean, with his busy schedule and being who he is, just to take the time to come all the way out the corner of the Northwest, it meant a lot just to have him there. So I knew he was really a huge music fan, and at that point, I mean, we just kind of hit it off from there, and it's just we kind of been on this journey to make some music history. So
that's awesome. So this is a kind of a question for both of you, but on opposite ends of the spectrum. John, when did you know? What made you realize that you wanted Ayron on board, and then in turn with Ayron, what made you want to sign with John?
Okay, so I got together with Michael, your management, and he's a good friend, and I went up into his audio room, and he put on "Take Me Away" at put it up to 11 for sure. And I was sitting in the chair in the middle of the sound stage, and I just looked at him and like, what the fuck is going on here? And then he goes into the second song, which the single that will be coming out in September, "The Boys from the Puget Sound." And I'm like, okay, there's nothing that sounds like this anywhere. This is unbelievable. Like, when can we get together with Ayron? Yeah. And I knew at that moment that there was something, I had goosebumps. I knew at that moment that there was something unbelievably special just from those two songs. We went through other songs as well, but it hit that quickly. And then we went up to Seattle with Julian Raymond, who is, an unbelievable producer that is part of our team. And Julian was also already on board, and we went, and from the first notes of Ayron getting on stage, of course we met him, and he was very sweet and charming and badass at the same time. But from the first notes on stage, we just kind of looked at each other and just went, fuck.
Yeah.
And that's the right reaction. That's the reaction we all want, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's that rock and
Absolutely.
roll reaction, man. And you know, to add to that, for me, I knew it was the right place for me because you know, I had a pretty successful independent career up until the point that I met John. And I knew that like what we had worked on, what I'd been kind of molding for the past few years up to that point, we finally found this sound. And for me, I didn't want to sign to someone or a label that was going to try to change that at that point, you know, because we knew it was something special. And we knew that as soon as we finished those tracks, we were like, we got that. That's that sound. And so not only just like the legacy of rock and roll was kind of on the line at this point for me. And for someone like John, who was already well connected in that legacy and and knew how to plug us into that stream, and it just felt natural for me. And I also just didn't want to change. I wanted to add on to what I was doing and not change what I was doing. I think John and the label were really it was a natural choice because of that. Because you know, as I'm working with the label and I'm working with John, and it's like I can already feel myself adding more and more elements to what I'm doing. But also like they really appreciate what I'm trying to accomplish in rock and roll, and not try to change it. You know what I mean? You kind of mentioned earlier about how you know, it can be pretty. It's easy to come across an executive in the music industry who thinks they know best, you know, and so it's harder kind of to find people that want to discover new music and kind of put themselves in the line to get it out there. So for me, it was a natural choice, you know, to go with John and Big Machine.
That's awesome. And that is such a rarity. And I admire each of you for being so incredibly uninfluenced in your own, you know, in your own skin, but you're able to see the benefits of that partnership. It's just so cool to see. I like your Scorpions shirt, John. I just noticed that now.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure my guitar player is actually most likely wearing that. Right?
I've seen you do a few covers.
It happens.
And you kill it too. You kill it. So
oh, thank you. So Ayron, so before we're going to get you to give a little bit of an example of your magic and what you do, but before we do, I kind of want to go into a little bit, just a lot of people here seeing you and meeting you the first time, and so you're from Seattle, correct?
Born and raised right here in Seattle. Yep.
That's awesome. Seattle proud. That's silly. That's just I love Seattle so much. One of the cities that we love traveling there, and the fact that we haven't gotten back there in so long, and now all of this happened is just, it messes me up in the head. It's just, there's so much history, and no wonder you have some of the sound that you got. I kind of want to know because in my opinion you have such a unique sound. I can probably hear some of the influences that inspired you, but can you maybe give me, I don't know, maybe three influences that kind of helped shape you, or at least that you go back to and you're like, yeah, I learned something from that every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, growing up in Seattle, I mean, of course you have the grunge influence, but I think, you know, which is definitely in my sound. I mean, like, it's impossible to grow up here and in the time period that I grew up in and not have that be an influence on your sound. And like, if you come to Seattle, there's a bunch of different bands that kind of branch off. I know country grunge bands. I know, I know there's like, I know blues grunge bands. I know bands that kind of spawn from the grunge sound out of Seattle. And so it's impossible not to have that. But I think a lesser known fact is that Jimi Hendrix also came from the inner city here in Seattle, which is also a neighborhood I came from. And so he had a lasting impression on the musicians and the artists here. So I can definitely say Jimi Hendrix. I can point to a lot of the grunge bands, you know, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and Nirvana, all the ones that we all became very familiar with over the years. But also, I mean, a huge fan of hip hop. I mean, if you listen to "Take Me Away," in the second verse, right before we get into the second verse, there's a little. That's a direct quote from Dr. Dre, you know, and some of the work was Zapp and Roger on California Love, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of infuse all these things in there. So yeah, so I mean, you know, Michael Jackson was also a huge influence. I remember vocally growing up, people were like, "You sound like Michael Jackson." I used to get made fun of for it all the time, you know. Who's laughing now? you know. But yeah, so I'd say Michael Jackson. I mean, from Michael Jackson to Dr. Dre to bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden to Jimi Hendrix to Rage Against the Machine. These are all the influences that I grew up listening to, and I've even got songs that I've been working on that are inspired by the Beastie Boys, even. So I go a long way, man. But I try to keep it West Coast and Northwest in my sound. So I think, especially with this record I'm working on now, it's a fusion of the West Coast hip hop, West Coast rock, and a little bit of blues and soul. So yeah.
You're hitting all of my pleasure buttons. It's awesome. Take that however you want. I know the chat's gonna explode. I can't help it. I grew up. I've been in the same band since I was 13. I'm surrounded by boys. I could say the sky is blue, and somebody would think it's a sexual innuendo. Anyway, let's let all of the people watching decide. Would you mind playing a song?
I'm gonna instill the help of my friend here and my engineer, who's gonna be joining me on the bongos to help me keep the rhythm here. His name's Greg Field. This is my single. It's called "Take Me Away."
Was the day I learned to lie. She kissed my face and said she'd be right back. Before she walked away and cried. Take me away. Take me away. This lonesome place. It's all I've ever known. How much better find peace of mind if I can't stand to be alone? Take me away. This lonesome place. Take me away. Take me away. Just take me away. So won't you take me away? Just take me away. From this lonesome place.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm clapping. That's awesome. I love hearing it broken down like that as well. How many people are in your band right now?
Right. So usually I play with three people. I play in a power trio. I've always been
Power
like a
trio,
huge
yeah.
fan of the power trio. You know, and when I first started out, so I'm self-taught. I mean, like you said, you started playing rock at age 13. I'm the same way. I really got into rock and guitar at age 13. And I'm a self-taught player. So when I first started, I got whatever guitar I could afford to find at the time. My first guitar was given to me by this this gangster from up the street because I grew up in the hood, man. So this dude was like, "Hey, man, take this. I don't know if I can do anything with this. You take that, see what you can do." And
That is
it stuck with me, man. It stuck with me, and so. Yeah, so I taught myself how to play. So originally, like I was singer-songwriter stuff, you know, just by myself trying to figure it all out. And then I really got into three-piece power trios and like really studied what these guitar players were doing. Players like Jimi Hendrix, you know, Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, the cats from Rush, man, like, you know, all of it. I tried to really dive into that. And so I've always really been a fan of just keeping it simple and making it big, you know. And as for the record, it was about, you know, I always thought of myself as having a producer's mind. You know what I mean? Like over time, having worked with some producers in you know in the independent part of my career, you know, the first person to produce an indie record for me was Sir Mix-a-Lot. You know, and so like picking up just different tips from here and there and different tricks from the different producers I've worked with over time. It kind of molded me into the person I am today. And so a large part of what went into Take Me Away was kind of taking all that I learned and putting it on a record and doing exactly what I wanted to sound like, you know. And it takes a while. I mean, and you probably know this. I mean, a lot of artists, it takes a while to figure out exactly what your tone is, exactly what your sound is. But once you get it, you really get it, and you just plug it in and you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember having that conversation when we were making some of our first records where when you start out, you I think you know more about what you don't want to be than who you want to be. You just,
Yeah.
you know, okay, well, not that, but let's, you know, say yes to adventure anytime that we can. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, what is your, if any, now that you've kind of developed this sound with you know, not just subject matter as far as like songs and everything, but what do you feel like your mission statement is, you know, just as an artist? What do you hope people get from you and remember you by after they see you?
That rock and roll is the most American thing that you can think of. That's what I hope people realize. I think that rock and roll is all American. I'm an all American, even though I come from a background that may be different from a lot of cats back there. You know, I dealt with a lot of hardship growing up. You know, a lot of things that a lot of people in my neighborhood dealt with, which was, you know, their parents may not have been around. There had been addiction. Sometimes it was violence. Sometimes there was all these different things. You know, I come from that background, but that's still an American story. And rock and roll is our story together. And there's nothing more unifying than that, I think, in my opinion. So I hope that message comes across, and maybe not just in the words that I speak, but just in the presence that I am. You know, I'm a Black American rock and roller, and like, you know, and I'm proud of it. You know
Right
what I mean?
on.
So, you know, I want people to know that you know, there as many things as there are to divide us, there are plenty of things that unite us, and rock and roll is that thing. That's our baby together, all of ours. You know, so, you know, if there's anything that I hope I can do, hope I can bring that to the forefront of consciousness. And, you know, and part of my goal is now what it's always been, which is bringing rock into the forefront, and kind of bringing it back, maybe hopefully bringing it back to people's consciousness, you know, in a way that they can hear it and listen to, you know.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And to me, that makes me love you even harder because I feel like I got that initial stamp from watching you live. You know, but like some of the things that John and I were talking about before, you know, before we drug you on here, we, you know, I think that it's important for people to know that it's not just a genre, and it's not just music. It's not just a career choice. It's something that I'm sure, well, and you just said, you know, you started when you were 13. You know, you caught the bug, and I don't know whether it's similar for you than it was for me, but it was almost like you don't, it's almost like rock and roll chooses you, not the other way around. I'm not sure if you felt that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I felt that way. Wholeheartedly, I felt that way. Especially, I mean, you know, I gravitated towards the blues because of that too. You know, and hip hop because of that too. These are stories of people that were going through similar struggles as myself. You know, and I mean, we may be that shiny city on the hill, but there's so many stories here of turbulence and trials and tribulations. I think that we can all really relate to, and I think that those are the stories I think that tend to pull people together the most. Is those stories, you know. So it's important that those stories get told. And rock and roll is that lifestyle. Rock and roll is the story of the downhearted and forgotten, you know. So I think that's the truth.
And that's what it is always stood for. It's always on the side of the downtrodden, on the side of the people that need it, on the side of the outcasts, the freaks, the people that don't feel like they belong anywhere. And that's the most magical thing about this genre. And one thing that I really miss, and I know that, you know, you're about to release music, but you're a live player. And one thing that I really miss is that community, you know, whereas I'm sure everybody in the chat will agree with me, like, whereas you're at the rock show, you're standing on that stage, the rock show doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what color skin you have. It doesn't care who you like to kiss. It doesn't care what you do for a living. It doesn't care if you have long hair, short hair, how you like to dress. We are all the same at the rock show. Hopefully we can spread a little bit more of that out in the world. I'm curious about your songwriting process, actually, just as a songwriter myself. Like when you sit down, are you kind of one of those people that kind of constantly works, as far as like you sit down with an, you know, hoping to catch something, or do you just kind of wait for inspirato, or or
interesting, man. Yeah, you know, for me, I think that's where that kind of hip hop element comes in, where it's like I've always got a beat in my head. I've always got a song going somewhere in my head. I've got an inspirational lyric somewhere sitting there in my mind, and like, so I'm the kind of person that'll kind of scrap all that together and just kind of either write it down or keep notes on it. And then when it gets to the time to really put a song together, I mean, sometimes there is that, and you know this probably best, is that there is those moments when a song just hits you and you got to put it down, you know. But for the most part, for me, it's like that. It's just that groove is always inside of me, and I'm always trying to evolve that groove. I'm always trying to put words to that groove. I'm always trying to relate to people. You know, I got a text from my manager, our mutual management, actually, and not too long ago, and he's like, "Yo, is this lyric double entendre?" I'm like, "It's all double entendres," you know. You know, it's because I always want to write music that's about my story, you know, but I want to write music that people can dig into and relate to in so many different ways. You know, they can look at it and go, "Wow, like that, it has multiple meanings to it." I don't want it to just mean something to me. Yeah. You know, or just the person that live life like me want to mean something to the person that has a life that's completely different from mine. It means something different to them, you know. So I'm constantly thinking about that when I'm writing my lyrics and music too. And I'm always trying to simplify. You know, I think as an artist, you can get so caught up in trying to like use the new chord, you know, like that new chord you looked up on YouTube, or like that, you know. Like, we got to make sure there's enough color chords here so that people think it's really jazzy or you know, it's really avant-garde. And at the end of the day, I think it's really important to connect with people on simplicity. So I try to keep things kind of 4-chord based, and, you know, don't take it too far out of that element. You know what I mean? Because like, I think that at the base of rock and roll, that's what it really is. It was just those 3 or 4 chords and something to say, you know?
Oh, and absolutely. And you know, it's interesting. You said something similar. I was the Susie Quattro documentary last night, which obviously Detroit heritage, and it was interesting to see her perform at such a young age. And one thing that people kept saying over and over again in the documentary is that when you watch her perform, she owns everything. There was nothing about it that looked like they were trying to be anything, like she was trying to be anything or trying to do anything that wasn't completely her or in her wheelhouse. And so, to that same effect of what you just said, when I saw live footage of you performing, that's what I felt. I felt like, oh, this guy is just owning everything that he is, and he's up there, and there's nothing, he's not trying to, you have nobody to impress. Like, you have no need to prove yourself to anybody. You are just you. And and you're also extremely hungry, and you have like we were talking about before, you have a mission statement and something that you want to say. And I think that's really needed, you know, not just in rock music, but just everywhere. I think that artists sometimes get scared and like, okay, well, what was what's hot right now? Okay, like let's be the next Imagine Dragons. Let's be the next this.
Right, right.
You know, or there's a whole list. And the same thing with you, John, being, you know, a label exec right now and being that liaison, and that, you know, partner in that journey. The fact that you are able to look at Ayron and be like, oh no, this is, we want to accentuate everything that you are. We're not going to try to make you into something that you're not. That's a true testament to you as well, because I know that there are some, you know, some labels that can be extremely heavy-handed in that, or you know, whatever, want to piss all over anything and make it theirs, you know. And so that's just an amazing testament to the man that you are, and the artist that you are, Ayron.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lzzy. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh,
you know, I think it's also that, you know, we're so particular about who we sign because we want them to be who they are. We're not looking for someone that we think, oh, these guys could sound a bit like this if we re-engineered them. It's really, you know, we fell in love. Those couple songs, it was like, that hit me across the head was like, okay, I just want more of that. I mean, that's really it. It's not like, I'm not looking to re-engineer anything here. Like that's the discovery, that the sound discovery there. And I think that's, you know, and I think that's the relationship that is a bit missing in the music industry today. Is there's not enough of that type of thing, because everybody talks about, well, we're spending the money, but the reality is that the artist is the one that is creating the magic. Our role is to just help them get the magic out there.
That's awesome. Yeah. See, hear that, kids? Any of you young musicians out there trying to make it straight from the horse's mouth? Be yourself. Damn it. You know, stop trying to be something else, and stop chasing trends. Everybody, there is none of that anymore. If it's magical, it's magical. If it's good, it's good. And it doesn't matter if you're just in rock, or if you're a pop person or a country person or a blues person, you know, that's, you know, just, if it's good, it's good. And make sure that you accentuate the good. You guys are, I'm so happy to have you guys on the show right now, not just because you all are, just because you're rock and rollers like myself, but you are just such great people. And your new faces, which really makes me ramble, actually, apparently. Down right now. Are you hearing that? It sounds like somebody's...
Yeah, I can't hear you. Ayron, can you hear?
Oh. We lost him.
John.
And
he's back.
There he is. We have a couple more minutes to hang out at the moment. And what I'd like to go through, Ayron, is mind giving us some performance, and some of you just spread some of your magic out for all of these people.
Yeah, no problem. In honor of Seattle. In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows, hard to face, lies a snake, and the sun in my disgrace, boiling heat, summer stench, neath the black, the sky looks dead. Just call my name through the cream, and I'll hear you scream again. Black hole sun, won't you come?
wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Won't you come? Stuttering, cold and damp, still some warm wind, tired friend. 'Cause times are gone for honest men. Sometimes far too long for snakes. In my shoes, a walking sleep. In my youth I pray to keep. Heaven sent hell away. No one sings like you anymore. Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun. Hang my head, drown my fears, till you all just disappear. Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun.
Woo! That's awesome. That is absolutely one of my favorite songs, and
Yeah.
you make Chris proud right now. That's
Oh, thank you.
dude, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and also just being willing to do multiple performances. For me, I feel like I'm being serenaded and nobody serenades. So it's usually on the other flip of the coin. So I really appreciate that. Everybody who is watching right now, make sure that you check out Ayron Jones. See, I did it. I almost did it.
That's all good.
I was just explaining to Ayron that for like months, I know it's Ayron. I've seen interviews with you before, and our management called me today, just like making sure that you know it's not Ayron. It's Ayron. I'm doing it. Making sure you check out his new song, "Take Me Away." It's out now. Also, he has a new song that he's going to be releasing on September 11th. His new album is coming out in 2021. Make sure you check out any and all live videos that you can. Just go on a Google rabbit hole down for Ayron Jones. I also want to thank John Varvatos, whom we lost in the shuffle here. Damn you, tech gods. But since he's not here to defend himself, I will leave you with this tidbit that I'm sure all of the men around the world, and the women for that matter, thank you. Because one thing that piqued my interest about John when I was doing some research is that he actually oversaw and pioneered a type of men's undergarment called boxer briefs. So he's responsible for just what we all love about boxer briefs. So thank you, John, for that.
Booty huggers. Yes.
Well, yeah, it's not, yeah, nice booty accentuators, nice junk accentuators. Everybody just have a field day with that too. That's going to be out there tomorrow. But anyway, thank you so much, Ayron, for being here. As far as for the show, next week, like I said, Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's is going to be here. Go and watch the Go-Go's documentary. It's freaking amazing, and make sure that you read Kathy Valentine's books. So join me for that, and that's about it for the show. Until I see you next time, raise your horns and stay safe. Listen to really loud music, specifically Ayron Jones's music. And up next, I'm going to throw it to my friend Matt Pinfield with "A Lonely Place," and he has Mitchy Collins on his show tonight. So make sure you stick around for that. See you next week, everybody. Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Matt Pinfield, and it's good to be here on a Friday afternoon with you, or evening, or maybe late night. You're watching us overseas. It's Joe Strummer's birthday of The Clash, who of course we lost at the age of 50 due to some heart issues. But I'm wearing a Joe Strummer Futures Unwritten shirt in his honor today. I love Joe very much. I saw The Clash. I was at the show where Paul Simon smashed his bass that's on the cover of London Calling. I was actually there in the audience on Mick Jones' side on the floor at the New York Palladium. And I remember seeing Paul do that. I go, wow, that's badass. Reminds me of Townsend when he smashed his guitars. Not knowing that moment would become one of the most iconic album covers of all time and one of my favorite records of all time. So happy birthday to Joe Strummer. Yesterday, a lot of great rock birthdays. One of the most underrated great artists of all time, Dublin's own Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. It was his birthday yesterday. He would have been 72. And Robert Plant was 72 from Led Zeppelin. And we also lost Dimebag Darrell. It was his birthday as well from Pantera. So a lot of important birthdays this week. I'm really excited about our guest today. I've been a huge fan of his. And when he started this band, I actually called him to be on a podcast that I had, through Westwood One, through one of my radio shows, because I heard the song Broken before, maybe a year before it actually came out. And I knew that it was an absolute smash. I was in love with it. And I said to my friend, Renee Mott, I said, oh, the guy's from Jersey, Mitchy Collins, I got to give him a call. I got to have him on my show. Even though the record's not out yet, I'm still going to have him on my show. And I'm happy to have him here with me today. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mitchy Collins from Lovelytheband. Mitchy, what's going on, buddy?
What up, man? How are you?
I'm so happy to see you, man. It's usually you and I are always out and about and running into each other everywhere in Los Angeles. Before the COVID thing, we were always at shows together. We'd either bump into each other or we'd meet up with a whole group of our friends. And, I'm just really happy, though, that there's new Lovelytheband music coming out. You've been continuing to release it from the forthcoming album, which I'm very, very excited about, which, of course, is called conversations with myself about you. And there's been some great songs out there, like I don't want to go to your party, and now the new single Buzz Cut. But I thank you for coming on the show. This is something I wanted to do with you for a while. And it's true. Remember when I called you up? I was in Los Angeles. You were in LA, but of course I found that you were from New Jersey, where I'm from, and I gave you a call and I said, "Man, I love your music. I think you should come on my show."
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Tell me, so Mitchy, that was pretty amazing, wasn't it? Was that fun? Was that one of the first national radio interviews that you had done at that point?
Yeah, that was definitely the first one for sure. So it was really fun. It was a great conversation. Glad to be doing it again.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here, Mitchy. So, Mitchy, it's pretty amazing because you were in a band called Oh Honey before that. And, then with forming Lovelytheband with the other two guys, you came from Jersey. You moved to Los Angeles. Tell me about the thing that made you migrate to the West Coast.
Well, I was in New York City on and off for about 7 years before that. And I think the main thing was I had my fill of New York. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, I've done it. Time for some new stuff. And I had friends out there and stuff in LA, and I was like, you know what? It's time for some change. It's time for a change of scenery. And I mean, you can't beat 75 and sunny every day.
You really can't. It's the same reason I came out here.
Yeah. Those winters and those brutal summers, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. So it was, I'm glad we both got to actually do that thing and come to the West Coast.
Yeah.
I lived here once before when I was doing that show Farm Club, with Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre and all those guys in 2000, 2001. And then when I got a job, and when the show ended, I got a job at Columbia Records. They told me I had to be in New York. So I moved back to New York, to the East Coast, close to where I grew up in Jersey. And then I did a morning show on the station RXP, and then there was, I was at Sirius XM, and eventually moved to San Francisco first on my way to Los Angeles. I was doing a morning show in San Francisco, but I always wanted to come back here. So I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah.
But Mitchy, I love Lovelytheband. And again, when I first heard Broken, I just knew the song was a smash. I couldn't get it out of my head. It didn't come out for about a year after that. And what really blew me away was that people were not knocking down your door. Now, of course, they're all, and I'm sure, regret it. But being a guy who did A&R and signed bands and did that for a living and oversaw the making of records, it was undeniable for me. I went, this song is a smash. And then finally the guys over at Another Century, like Don Robertson and Mike Gitter and those guys. But Renee Mata was, of course, instrumental in it. One of our best friends and the guy we love so much. His name comes up on the show a lot because, Renee's the great connector.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the great connector.
So tell me about how you ended up forming the band out here now with the other two guys and just kind of the progression of time.
I was writing for the project for probably a year or so, year and a half. And then I met Jordan just by happenstance. He came to my apartment with a couple of my friends, so, mutual friends of ours. We were having a couple drinks before we were going out, and we were just chatting and whatever. And then him and I became pretty fast friends. And, over the next few months, like I said, we just became pretty close, pretty fast, good, quick friends. And then I was just like, yo, man, I've got this project I'm putting together. I saw on Instagram that he was a great guitar player, and just saw what he could do. And I was like, yo, would you be down to take a swing at this with me? Here's the songs, what are you feeling? And he was down. And then, actually, as it goes, we played we released Broken in April of 2017 and played our first show in June. And the funny part of that is Sam, who now is the drummer of our band, was actually in attendance at the show. He was watching. He was the only member of Lovelytheband that's actually ever seen us play.
Was that at Bootleg? Was that Bootleg?
That was at Roxy.
Yeah, okay.
So we were opening. It was our first show. We were opening for a good buddy of mine, Goody Grace, and I had gotten Sam's Instagram from a friend of ours, and I was like, I just hit him up, like cold called him. I was like, yo man, like I'm starting this band, like your drumming is insane. Like, can you come to our show and we can chat a bit? And he did. And then a couple weeks later, he came to the studio and helped record drums for the remaining of what would be our first EP, Everything I Could Never Say. And then on the way home from the studio, I got a call from him. He was like, yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. And then literally like, I think like 2 weeks later, we were on tour and started radio promo and stuff. So
yeah, it's amazing how quickly that happened. And the bootleg show was phenomenal. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing that. And I kind of followed your progression and kept coming to the shows. It was bootleg in LA. And then of course you guys, you did Roxy, which was amazing. And then of course Fonda, Troubadour. I went to all of those shows and just followed the band in major support. What I noticed as the shows kept continuing was how the audiences, not only did they get bigger, but everybody in the audience knew every word to every song. Mm-hmm. Did that blow you away? Like how much to heart your fans were taking the tracks? I mean, because it was just a real testament to your songwriting and your lyrics.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always a crazy thing, I'm just fortunate that like the community we've built is supportive and just passionate about what we're doing. And, like we were super excited to get back out on tour and tour this new album coming out, but obviously, the pandemic and everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely wild, hearing people sing back your songs. To this day, it's still like it's just like, I don't know. It's weird for me because it's just something I do out of just necessity for myself. And then like seeing it connect is just still crazy to this day.
It's like therapeutic, right? When you writing these songs because they're it's really about your life and your observations and things like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So seeing it connect is like, it's special, it's beautiful, but still kind of takes me back a little bit.
I just want to say that one of my favorite lyrics since the first EP has always been in the lyric of the song, Don't Worry You Will. Because, I mean, it's just the greatest lyric. When I heard you sing, like, you can't find anything you don't like about me, don't worry you will. Yes. Genius. Yeah, it was so great. The first time I saw you play that song live, I'm like, I love this. These guys
awesome. Fun
so cool.
Fun fact, that's it's a twist on a line from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Right. What a great movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the inspo from that came from. And also my life in general. But yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I think it's really cool. Mitchy, let's talk about, growing up in New Jersey. What town were you from? When did you start becoming really interested in music and it was something you wanted to do?
I grew up in a little town called Bedminster. It's like a little horse town. And yeah, it was cool. I started playing music, like really started wanting to focus on. I started my first band in 8th grade, so I was like 13, I think. And then that's when I kind of really started taking guitar seriously and stuff. And then, as it goes, got to high school, started another band, and, just was in and out of bands throughout I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's cool. It sounds nice and clear. Your computer, your mic is working really well.
What's it called? Sorry. Yeah, I was in and out of bands in high school. I went to my first Warped Tour, I think in like 7th or 8th grade, and or was it 6th grade? I don't know. It was early, and that was kind of like the nail in the coffin for me, being like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I like that energy. It was like, okay, I'm going to be in band. This is what's up. And I've never strayed from that. It was nice, like kind of just knowing from day one. I was always like, there's never any wavering for me. It was like, no, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to be in band. So
that's fantastic. And your parents were really supportive, right? All the way around?
Definitely. My mom was definitely awesome. Drove me to shows and stuff. So.
And you were young. So do you remember who was headlining or some of the bands that were on that first Warped Tour? And was it in Asbury Park or was it in North Jersey? Where was that?
Yeah, it was in Asbury Park. I think Alkaline Trio, Less Than Jake. Who else? Newfound Glory was there. I think Blink-182 at one of them. One of the early.
It's amazing. Asbury had so many great festivals there. That, and remember Skate and Surf?
Surf, yeah.
That was another great one. I remember at that time I had like 4 bands I had signed on there, like Static Lullaby, Acceptance, Coheed and Cambria, and the 4th band was Kill Radio. So there were 4 bands on that bill. And then I remember that night seeing My Chemical Romance for the first time and just going, fantastic.
Yeah.
From Belleville, you know, and they were amazing. But that had to be a great thing because you could go to a festival like that, see other people that were like-minded and were just really hungry for new music. It was a great time to get exposed to many different artists. Is that how you would say you feel about that?
Definitely, yeah. Warped Tour and like Skate and Surf and all that stuff was like, I mean, I remember, I think the Skate and Surf specifically, it was cool just watching that scene come to life because I remember watching Taking Back Sunday. I think it was 2003 or 2002. I remember watching them at like noon on the boardwalk stage, opening the show, like outdoor stage, you know, whatever. And then literally the following year they were like the headliner of the festival, and yeah, I mean, just like. I think that was a really cool moment, and just like discovering new bands and just being excited about things. That's definitely a moment in time that I wish I could like go back to and relive, like discovering my favorite bands and stuff, like hearing Fall Out Boy for the first time, and like that was a pivotal record for me back then, and like Take Us to Your Grave, and the Taking Back Sunday stuff, and Brand New and all that, and like Dashboard Confessional, and hearing that stuff for the first time, and like. Yeah, definitely.
I just remember, at that festival you're talking about, I remember when I think it was Brand New at Skate and Surf, it was, I remember just everybody singing in the audience, You're Just Jealous Because We're Young and in Love. Yeah. Line, from the first album, Tell Your Friend. It was so great. It was a really incredible moment to watch.
Definitely. Yeah, it's funny. It was actually it was kind of like heartbreaking. I saw them in 2012 maybe. I don't know. They did a show at Starland Ballroom where they played all of their record Deja Entendu and Your Favorite Weapon from front to back and all the B-sides. And when he did So Over to Lime and he went into the part, You're Just Jealous Because We're Young and in Love, the crowd was singing it. But then he flipped the lyric and it was just this like beautifully painful moment because he flipped the lyric and he started singing I'm Just Jealous Because You're Young and in Love. And I was like, damn. Like
that's amazing. That's so great. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. Your favorite excuse me. I'm kidding. I'm saying like I'm like starting on something like that. Yeah, but Your Favorite Weapon was such a great record, and then the Jump, the Deja, and then between the Devil and God, all those records, there were such big leaps and changes in Brand New at that period of time, and Jesse, of course, at that period of time went from being really like being excited about coming on K-Rock with me. And, Dad was listening and to where he didn't want to do press at all. Like I said, things kind of really changed in his life. I saw this, these things kind of change within him. He still made great music, but it was interesting, the progression there,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And, but Taking Back Sunday too, those records are great, right? I mean, I always loved Decade Under the Influence too. And
It's great.
Definitely. So good. And there was a time that I almost signed them, but it was when Victory Records made it so they were torturing after they lost. Thursday went to Island, who are from New Brunswick, my hometown of that area. Then they just wanted to torture Taking Back Sunday at Victory, so they were making it almost impossible for a label to sign them. A Warner's eventually did, but they wanted to sign with me, and
it's crazy.
It was so crazy.
Victory Records, man, they were like they were like the Lex Luthor of the scene, you know what I mean? It's like, and like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know, like just hearing about all the like terrible things they did to their bands. And it's like,
yeah, well, one of the ones that I remember was when they declared, I think because Warner's had declared like that the first Taking Back Sunday album was gold, took out an ad for them because they were going to do their second record on Warner's. Then Victory took out an ad saying that it wasn't gold, that it wasn't really gold. Like, why take the time to fuck up your band? Like, to me, that was just, what the fuck? That's like nitpicking. Yeah. And, you know, me being friend of the musicians and lover of the music, you know me, I always like to treat bands right, even as an A&R guy. That was always that thing. You know, I was always the guy, the middleman fighting so that, you know, certain people wouldn't have to deal with edits, like Cody and Cambria. Like, they wanted to, one time they asked me if I could ask them to shorten their album, Good Apollo. I'm like, what? You want me to, because of a musical format. It was called Super Audio CD. And I remember someone asking me, hey, would you ask Claudio and the guys if they would shorten the album? I'm like, you want me to ask my band to shorten a concept album that is a story arc? I don't think so. So, you know, I've always fought for the artist. I still do. And, you know, I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? You know, and sometimes, you know, you would certainly butt heads, but not with the artist, but butt heads with the company. But those Victory stories are out of control, aren't they? Definitely. And I don't wish them on any artist. You know, I just all I know is from everything that I've heard, it was a bit nightmarish at the end of the day. But you know, so that's the stuff that you were listening to then. Tell me about your first project, Oh Honey, because you were also signed. And what was that like? Because I know, you know, when I talked to someone like, you know, Aaron Bruno, who was signed 3 times, but, you know, then AWOL Nation took off. But, you know, him being hometown hero, and then under the, you know, what was it called? Under the influence of Giants. Or maybe I'm confusing it with the name of the Oasis album. And, you know, but you know, he was in those 3 bands. And then finally, so for you, what was the experience with your band before that like? And
it was cool. It was like, it was different. You know, we had like definitely like, it was exciting. It was fun until it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like we had like, it was like a pretty stereotypical, like major label chew you up, spit you out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which by the end of it was like pretty heartbreaking, you know, kind of like I like lost my love for music, like for a little bit. 'Cause I was like, it just was like, I saw the side of the machine that like, I didn't ever think I would, you know what I mean? And like, just like the soul sucking part of it, like you know, we got handed an A&R after like, we had a single that everyone thought was going to go, and it didn't work. You know, it did okay, but it didn't do what people thought it was going to do. And then after that, we were like going in to make an album and write for it. And then we were handed like an A&R, and, you know, it was just kind of like it was a difficult process for me because like I want people to be excited about what I'm doing and passionate, you know what I mean? And like that, like if they're on the team, you know, and like any artist does. And it was just kind of one of those things where I saw the side of the machine that was like, hey man, I don't really care what you do. Give me a single, you know what I mean? And I'm like, what? Like, how are you going to tell an artist that? You know? So it was like, by the end of it, it was pretty like, just kind of heartbreaking. And, but you know, like I'm not, you know, I don't regret anything of it. Like it was fun. We did some great tours. We had a lot of fun, you know, made some memories, but, you know, and it paved way for what I'm doing now. So
yeah, it really did. I mean, like everything
too, which was, I think, the most important thing. It taught me a lot.
Yeah, you learned a lot about what you didn't want to have to deal with in the future with your band.
Exactly.
And that's a great thing. So I think you can honestly say that it gave you the opportunity to have that intelligence going into a new deal to say, hey, no, this is not what we want, and this is what we're going to do as we proceed. And I mean, you had just it's been an incredible role. COVID has been it's just been a thorn in the side to all of us, everybody in the music industry, and you know, like, but I love I'm grateful that you're still releasing music during this period. And you've been releasing singles, you know what I mean? So, I mean, Buzzcut being the most recent, which is great. But I wanted to talk to you about, would the album have come out a few months earlier? Was that the original plan?
Yeah, definitely. The album was supposed to come out in June because we were supposed to be headlining May and June. So we wanted the album out, you know, in the middle of the tour. But then obviously COVID happened, and we were like, all right, well, no point in rushing it out. Let's just kind of roll some songs out and, you know, get it going.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you. So during COVID, I mean, I mean, it's well documented now that I had a relapse during COVID, which was very difficult for me. I mean, being isolated.
Yeah.
And isolation is tough. But I'm obviously very healthy now. I'm feeling great. And I came out the other side of that. But for you, how was that first adjustment for you? Because what was the thing that got you through it? Was it writing? Was it watching movies, listening to music? Was it, being in contact with your friends? What was the thing? Tell me a bit about your experience with COVID.
Yeah, I definitely binged just a bunch of movies and just a bunch of movies and TV and stuff. I definitely couldn't create. It was definitely tough the first adjustment period because, it was just really depressing about not being able to be on what would have been our most ambitious tour to date and things we were excited about. And then also I rely heavily on feeling like I'm accomplishing things to keep me going, and I start to spiral a little bit when I'm just kind of when I feel like I'm not doing anything. And that's literally what everyone was doing, nothing for however many months, but then, you start to come on the other side of it and it's okay, this is the new normal. And, you take the date, so yeah. I just watched a bunch of movies and just kind of chilled out for 2 months or whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're like me. You like to be busy, so and you're always on the go. I know that.
Yeah, as far as some people were able to make music and stuff, that definitely wasn't for me. I only the last few months was able to start creating again, because also it was just I tried to write, but it's literally the only thing that was talked about for a couple months was COVID. Everything on the news, everything you have conversations on FaceTime with your friends. It's oh, this is crazy, right? Oh my God. It's literally the only thing to talk about. So
yeah. So it kind of you needed inspiration that was more external, with something different that's going on. I get it. And I know a lot of people went through the same thing. Some people said they wrote and created, but I know a majority of people, I think, were just trying to figure out how they're going to deal with their life day to day.
Yeah,
at that
definitely. I mean, the crazy thing, I felt so bad. Our touring crew, all my friends that are hired musicians or crew guys, just trying to figure out that live season to season, because they're a lot of these guys had work lined up for the next 9-10 months, and now everyone's what am I going to do? So
yeah, I mean, it really broke my heart. I mean, to see that, and I know how many people's lives it affected it incredibly, and that's why we've been doing stuff I hosted the Save Our Stages NEVA, a Morrison Hotel gallery thing, and for that and for Music Cares. And Music Cares has been helping people out, but these are tough times, and we got to stay as strong as we can to get through it. And we love our friends and all the people that we work with that have kept everything going with us. And I mean, we just got to be supportive of each other as much as we can. And
totally,
that's really what we're doing. So tell me about as you were deciding on which songs to release up into that time, Loneliness for Love is a great track. So can you tell me about the writing of that song and what the inspiration is behind it?
Yeah, that song, we just felt that was the one that kind of was when we wrote that one, that was kind of the turning point of making the album. It was finally it was we got one. Okay, cool. And everything else can kind of get put together after that. It's always finding that first single from the record is always the challenge, because it's going to lead the way on where things go and what things are going to shape up to be. But that song is about just literally, I keep mistaking loneliness for love. It's about me, literally my dating life, and me trying to fix things I think are wrong with myself by filling that hole or filling that void with other people. But the song originally actually was supposed to be on our first album. And that's the song you hear now is the 8th rendition of us writing it. Just it kind of just went through the ringer, but then we finally kind of turned the corner on it, and that's what you hear now.
Yeah, it's a great track. And tell me about Waste, because that's another one. Now, Waste, and will these all end up on the album as well?
Yeah, definitely. Everything that's been released will be on the record.
I don't want to go to your party too, which you use as all initials, which is cool.
Exactly. Waste. Waste was a fun one, man. That was how do I put this? We it was a day, we had rented a house for the summer we were writing, and it was the day that I went on a very trippy journey. And we had some friends at the house, and we were just writing, and we were like just kind of experimenting, and yeah, it was just like kind of a fun experience to make that song, and
Yeah.
one of those musical journeys you go on sometimes.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, and then I Don't Want to Go to Your Party. Tell me about that track, because I love the lyrics to that.
Oh, I Don't Want to Go to Your Party. That was actually one of the first songs that was written for the record. Did that in like January of 2019, and then we went on tour and did the whole thing, but that was like kind of the first initial little writing bouts that we did, and then that one just kind of ended up. We knew it was fun, we needed like a high energy kind of thing, but the song is about I don't want to go to your party. It's basically just like it's about a relationship that you're just not want to be in, but dressed up as like, hey, like I don't want to go to your party anymore. I'm not trying to mess with you anymore. This is okay.
Absolutely. Now, when Broken became a hit, obviously we knew it was a hit a long time before, and believed in the band and the song. What was it like going to other parts of the world and seeing that the song had translated and become really big? I know I remember, you and I were texting each other, I think, and you were in London at the time. Tell me about the other parts of the world and touring and the reaction over there.
Oh man, it's so cool. Like especially the UK, man. Shows just hit different there, man. That's like the energy that those shows have are some of the best we've ever played. I mean, those kids go nuts, and it's awesome. And like we had our first mosh pit in Glasgow, which was fun. But that was like it's different over there for us because like all the fans of the band over there are like they're fans of the band. You know what I mean? They really are like love
they love everything, right? They're big fans.
They like love the whole thing. They love the album. They fell in love with that because like the song did well over there, but it wasn't like a radio hit. You know what I mean? Like whereas in America, like our fans are obviously still amazing, but it's different because we have some of those. I heard this song on the radio fans, you know what I mean? And coming for Broken and like, but whereas in the UK, like 99% of the shows we play are like everyone just is kind of, it's like a word of mouth. They just know the band, not just because of the song.
Right. And they buy into the whole experience.
Yeah.
And know the songs like you're big Uber fans here that I've seen at your shows, which is great.
Yeah.
What venues did you play in London?
We played the Garage in London. We played. We supported 5 Seconds of Summer early at the end of 2018, and we did. I think we did the O2 Apollo, I think, and then we did. I forgot what the other one is called.
The Apollo's great too. I mean, all those places.
We did like the O2, both O2s. We did some crazy rooms. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, obviously, you being a big lover of music and the history of everything over there. And let's talk about the EP you did, like from Studio 2, right? Because I did my radio show there with my old co-host Leslie Fram when I had a morning show in New York City, RXP, on that alternative and rock station, and it was so great to be in Studio 2 at Abbey Road, where the Beatles recorded 198 of their songs.
Definitely.
There's magic in those walls. I have to ask you because of the cover of the EP and you guys crossing the street. You know that like before COVID, that's still one of the most dangerous crossings in the world. It's nothing like it. So tell me about taking the picture for the cover.
I mean, it was definitely one of those ones where like we just like, we wanted to recreate it, but like it was definitely one of those ones where like, okay, no cars, let's run. And then our photographer snapped a bunch of photos and then waited and then did that again, and then finally we got a couple. So,
which is amazing because I mean I almost got killed there. I mean I never did get that picture. I'd been there twice, like because I was doing broadcast for Live 8 from Hyde Park. And like you two played with McCartney and with everybody like Richard Ashcroft with Coldplay. It was pretty amazing. And there was thank you, some water. Appreciate it, Chris. And thank you. But Yeah, I remember. So anyway, I was doing A&R then still. I was a vice president of A&R at Columbia Records. So I wanted to go to Abbey Road and see where the Beatles recorded. So I walked in and gave them my card. And they're like, oh, we'll take you on a tour, Mr. Pinfield. And then years later, I get to go on and actually do my radio show from there. It was like unbelievable. And then Absolute Radio, too. They let us use their studios. But I loved when I saw the picture of you guys crossing the street. Now, did you know there's a cam that actually exists, too? Like there's some website or that it's always on there to watch people trying to cross there just to see how. Yeah, that's I've never actually seen. Well, somebody showed it to me once. I don't know if it still exists, but it was hilarious because it was just all the people that want to take a picture, like the cover of Abbey Road, and you guys got it done. So I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a cool experience. Definitely crazy to be in that room. Very magical situation.
And you were playing all three of the first singles from the first album, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely.
And was that live, or were you actually tracking while you were there?
We played live there, and then just kind of recorded live.
That's really cool. It must have been.
It was a crazy day. It was definitely very fortunate to have recorded there and did the whole thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'm so excited about this new album coming out.
Thanks.
I gotta tell you. And I love the name. You know, you never disappoint me when it comes to the names of the records. Conversations with myself about you is genius. But let's talk about the albums that you picked. You know, I always love to ask my guests what their 7 of their favorite albums or 7 albums that changed their lives or inspired them, things that you know were pivotal in their musical taste.
Yeah,
and resonate with them still. Now, your first record is from Rancid, and I was with Tim Armstrong last Sunday night. In fact, you know, he's got a studio out in the Boat.
The Boat,
and, yeah, and the Boss Tones were recording in there the other day.
I know it.
Yeah, Boss Tones are doing a new record, so they were in there the other day. And but I hung out with Tim on Sunday night, and I love this record so much. The third album from Rancid, and Out Come the Wolves. Tell me why this record's so important to you and why you love it.
I mean, this was kind of like I still to this day play this like to this day one of my favorite records of all time. But this was my invitation into like punk rock, you know, and like just the songs and the energy and it's so cool. I don't know. It just gives me like still to this day this nostalgia feeling. Like I put this record on at my Discman going to school, and then like at the skate park and whatever. And yeah, still like one of the greatest punk rock records of all time, in my opinion.
It really is. You know, you look at I mean, he and Lars, you know, and the songs they write on this record, and you know, for me, it was the new age of punk London calling for me. Yeah. You know, that's how I felt about it. It was the third album. It had that. It was a journey album that took you on a journey. You know what I mean? From Maxwell Murder all the way to the end. All those great songs, and I just I love that record like you do. I think it's just truly one of the great punk rock records. It's incredible. Definitely. But you know, what I've loved about you is you're a big fan of melody too, and you've loved so many different styles of music. It's really evident in your songwriting and performance. The next record that you picked was from Bon Iver, and you know, it's interesting because Justin Vernon just did a guest spot with Taylor Swift on her new record.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
which was very cool that she did that. And he's a funny guy. He's a really nice guy. You know, I mean, you think he's super serious, but he's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
He came up to my radio show in New York. It was really cool. Oh. You picked Forever Forever Ago, which, you know, got Skinny Love on it, and it's such a great record. Tell me why you love this one.
I mean, Bon Iver is like one of my favorite artists of all time. Justin Vernon, I think he's one of those guys that I wish I could be a fly on the wall watching him create. Everything is so. I mean, every album he does, you know, from this one and on, like everything he does, it's so creative, it's so innovative, it's so just left of center, and just it's like literally, it's in my opinion, it's art in its truest form. It's like literally like an art piece. Each record he does, and it's the raw emotion lyrically, his melodic sense. He's a genius. And he's one of those people that I love it so much because I can't break it down. I can't be like, oh, I understand this. It's just so that, yeah, like I can't break it down. And that's why I think I love him so much. Yeah,
it's great stuff. I remember, you know, when I was doing that radio show in New York City, and he had been a guest there recently around that time. And Michael C. Hall from Dexter, of course, and 6 Feet Under was coming on as a guest because I was a huge fan of that. And we let artists do takeovers and actors and comedians and everybody. And I will tell you that it was really funny because he sends me an email later on and goes, "Hey, could I add one more song, man? I want to play Bon Iver's Skinny Love on the show. And I'll tell you why. It's his song about relationships, walking away." And he had literally had a cinematic explanation, Michael C. Hall, for wanting to play that. And he goes, "Is it okay if I add a song?" I'm like, "Of course. You're Dexter. It's Michael C. Hall. You can add a song." No, I love, huge fan. He's such a great guy, great singer, great musician too. But all right, and we're going to go on to your third record. Now it's this band, The Format. It's funny, when I moved to San Francisco, a guy named Casey Schaefer, who was their manager for The Format for years, and he became one of my first close friends in San Francisco. And that's how I found out much more about the background of The Format. I knew the records, of course, knew that, Nate went in and started, Fun, with Jack Antonoff from Steel Train. But this record it's really a great record. It's the second release from these guys, you know what I mean? And Interventions and Lullabies. Tell me why you love this record so much. And there's actually, the title of the album is reference to that one song on the record.
This was like the soundtrack. This is a band that I thought should have been the biggest band in the world that just kind of really never, I think a similar thing happened with them. Like the major label kind of system kind of shorted them a little bit. And it just proves to a testament of how talented it was because, Nate then started Fun and he finally was due his success. But this album was so different and ahead of its time, I think. And just like the songwriting lyrically, like sonically, like it was so ahead of its time and so different. And it was just like, to me, so cool and exciting and just something that like no one was doing at the time. And it still holds up for me. I still listen to it all the time.
I mean, I bet you were really happy when you saw that you had success with Some Nights and We Were Young.
Oh yeah. Because that's the thing. Like when Fun happened, I was like, oh, this is like the fourth and fifth Fun or the Format albums to me. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like. I was like, oh, this is where they didn't break up, but this is where it would have gone. So.
Right. And did you know Jack Antonoff from New Jersey since he was in Steel Train? Did you guys ever cross paths?
I knew of him, obviously, because of Steel Train and stuff, but I don't know him personally now. I'm just a fan.
Yeah. I'm sure one day you guys will meet up.
Yeah.
There's about it. And you can bond over being from North Jersey as well.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But, because he was in Steel Train, was signed to a Drive-Thru originally.
Yeah.
And then doing that. But he's killing it now in production as well.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Carrabba and Dashboard Confessional made some great records, absolutely. And this was the second one. The Places You've Come to Fear the Most, with Screaming Infidelities and so many other great tracks on there. At this point, I mean, they were on fire. I mean, it was one of those situations where what reminded me of your shows that I saw even from early on, where everybody was singing every lyric.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was happening there. Tell me why this record's very special to you, Mitch.
This record still, I mean, like he taught me, like this record taught me like how to feel things as a teenager, you know what I mean? And like be like emotional and like just kind of write about it and like taught me so much about like songwriting and just opening up and being honest and whatever. And Chris and I have become very close friends over the time, and it was a crazy it was literally crazy. It was at South by in 2018, and he was doing, Dashboard was playing a secret show, and my friend was working, still works for him, and I was like, yo, can you introduce me? Like, I'm a mega fan, and he's the sweetest guy, and like, I met him backstage, and it was definitely like a pinch me moment, because I walked backstage, and I go to introduce myself, and before I could say anything, like, I was like, before I could be like, yo, I've been a fan forever. Like, I love your music, whatever. Before I could say anything, he's like, you're in love with the band. I love your band. And I was like, wow, okay, what? And like, everything kind of went blank, and we exchanged numbers and, became friends after that. So that was, but still to this day, like, this record is, I think, one of the best.
What are you have any favorite songs on it in particularly?
Definitely Screaming Infidelities, The Best Deceptions, Saints and Sailors. There's so many. The whole album front to back, like it's perfect.
Yeah. Have you thought of maybe it's at some point down the line, maybe you guys will collaborate on something? Have you ever discussed that?
We've talked about it for sure, and plan is to do that one day when the timing's right.
Yeah, it would be really great to see you guys do that.
Yeah,
Maybe Chris will find out about the interview and talking about this, and you guys could do something during COVID. Where like you can do something back and forth.
totally.
And track that would be really cool. I would love to see that. The next artist you pick, we're going to talk about two different albums by the artist because it was a tie.
Yeah,
And we're talking about Frank Ocean, of course, and Frank, man, what an incredible talent this guy is,
Yeah.
and just, starting out with those Odd Future guys and, doing stuff, ghostwriting and being around Tyler, the Creator. And I was just really blown away when, he came out with Channel Orange.
yeah,
And, the rest of the world was obviously, and he recently recorded over at NRG. Was the last time that he was, before COVID. I know he was working on some stuff here in Los Angeles in the studio, and I just missed him. I was going to go, go and say, talk to him, just talk to him about some music stuff. I always enjoyed doing that. And, but you love the first and second album equally here. So
yeah. Frank is one of those people that it's a dream collaboration of mine, and I just think that like both albums are so different and so innovative and so like you hear so much of his influence in modern music, and it's just like everyone's trying to be Frank, but because everyone's waiting for Frank to drop more music.
yeah.
And honestly, the most heartbreaking thing about the pandemic was I was so excited to see him close Coachella on Sunday, and obviously that was canceled. But I've never seen him play, but I'm such a huge fan, and both records are so different and just so innovative and lyrically, melodically, like it's another one of those things where like I can't break it down. I can just sit and enjoy it.
Yeah. So what is it about? What do you see the difference between Channel Orange and Blonde? What do you see? What is the progression you see between the two records?
I think Blonde was just like it was more emotional. You know what I mean? What I thought was cool, and like the songs came from, I think, for me personally, I think it just kind of hit a different spot. Like Channel Orange had so much attitude and stuff, and like on some songs and stuff, and just like the swag of it and the flow. And then with Blonde, it was kind of like it was a little bit like he like calmed down a little bit. You know what I mean? And like the songs were just kind of like something you could just sit and be sad to.
Yeah, and very introspective, right?
Yeah, very introspective.
Yeah, it's really, really great stuff. Yeah, I look forward to him dropping some new music sometime soon. And, obviously when we can see live shows again. My friend Mark Geiger, I know that he was recently on the Bob Lefsetz podcast and said he didn't really see live shows happening again until 2022. I don't know, there's no, that's obviously, it's an educated guess more than anything. I think, we're hoping it's much earlier. My hope is that we're going to start seeing some shows in early 2021, and maybe what Mark meant was some of the bigger festivals. Maybe he thought that was what he was kind of talking about. But, hopefully, I know that a lot of these bills, a lot of the artists have committed at some of the festivals to actually literally come back and do their spot, to recreate the original lineup of what they were going to do. So we can only hope that's the case. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Without a question. Now, the next band are great. I love these guys, Alkaline Trio, this trio of guys, Matt Skiba and company. So good. I don't know. It's wild. I remember they were playing. Who were they opening for? I've seen them many times in clubs and other venues, but they were actually opening for somebody back near where you and I live in our area, like at the Meadowlands one time. And, Max Weinberg's son, who's now, also out playing, was there because he was such a big fan of Alkaline Trio. Max, I remember talking to Max, and Max, brought him back to meet the guys. But, I almost signed those guys too, but then I stopped. Then there was big layoffs at Sony, so I stopped doing A&R. But I was literally in the process of signing Alkaline Trio. Right. Going to vegan restaurants with those guys in New York City and just hanging out, and it was great. But Good Morning's such a great record, man. I love We've Had Enough was just one mission statement of a song
Tell me why you love this record, why this is the one that you picked.
I mean, I love so many Alkaline Trio records, but this I think was the one, like Blue in the Face. I have 2 Alkaline Trio tattoos. Like, I love this band. I just think it's cool because like I always like thought like, because I love Blink-182 as well, and like I thought like Alkaline Trio was always like the darker, like the dark version, you know what I mean? And like, and I don't know, his lyrics, like the energy of the songs, like lyrically they were just doing something different than everybody else was doing. And yeah, I think, but this one I think was just like, I think them at their best.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. And you know, all those tracks like Time to Waste and things that were up for the records, and you know, and I loved, you know, I really thought it was really interesting to me because when I heard the Crimson album, because you know I'd been following them for a long time, but I thought Mercy Me should have been a smash hit single.
Yeah, definitely.
I loved Mercy Me so much. It's still one of my favorite songs. I put on a lot of mixes, you know what I mean? And I just love that tune. It just drives, you know what I mean? In that Alkaline Trio way. For people that are listening that haven't heard it, it just kind of has that kind of drive that like something like Hey Jealousy by Jim Blossoms or The Middle by Jimmy Eat World has. It's kind of that kind of thing. But lyrically, you're right. It's super dark. It's great.
Yeah.
And I love those records. And that's why I'm glad that you picked these guys. You know, have you met Matt Skiba yet?
Yeah, a handful of times. He's always a nice guy.
He's been really cool to you, right? That's great.
Very nice guy.
All right, now another record that you picked, which is Phoebe Bridgers. Now I love her. She's you know, she's local here in Los Angeles, and you know, this is her second album that came out recently. It's definitely one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the year.
Yeah, he's like, this one is definitely like my favorite current record. I've been playing her nonstop for the last since the top of the year. I think lyrically she's so incredible, and melodically she's just so interesting, and all of her songs have this like kind of just beautiful like pain to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's something that's great about her, and you know, I feel like her stars, you know, is going to seriously rise. I mean, it already is, but I think when she's able to go out on tour again and things start to return to normal, she's going to be, you know. And she recently, I was talking about how certain elements of her reminded me of some of Sinead O'Connor's early songwriting, and oddly enough, as soon as I said that, because she covered Black Boys on Mopeds from I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got. She covered a Sinead O'Connor song, like for a thing. Maybe it was like a Tiny Desk concert or something like that, or World Cafe or something. But she did that, and I think that, you know, what you love about this record too is she said that it was in tribute to Elliott Smith, but she did that whole double tracking vocal thing that Elliott had, right?
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Tell me about what you thought about the production on the record.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, I think all the stuff she does is production-wise is interesting and cool, and it has this space to it. And it sounds like, there's just this like air and space to it that I think just sounds really beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I do. I love her. Now, you know, I wanted to ask you this, Mitchy, because you as a songwriter, and you know, you know, I think you go into songwriting in a very thoughtful way, and clever lyrically. And, you know, I think about people that I loved through growing up, that, you know, whether it was Elvis Costello or they're just different people that are really amazing with wordplay. And I feel that you've got that incredible talent yourself. But I wanted to ask you, if you could collaborate with anybody, living or dead, like any artist, who would you love to like spend an afternoon in a writing session with, and just kind of picking their brain and trying to create something with? Who would that be?
Definitely Justin Vernon for sure.
Yeah. You know,
yeah.
Does he know that you're a fan of his?
I don't know. I talk about it a lot, so maybe I've been, you know, my people have reached out, but you know, he's working with Kanye and stuff, so you know, he's getting Taylor Swift. He's got a lot of people trying to collaborate. But he's the number one for sure.
Now, I mean, we talked earlier about some of the Warped Tour shows that you had seen when you were a kid, and you've been on festivals and you played individual shows. What would you say was your favorite show that you've ever seen? And was that Warped Tour that we talked about the first live show that you went to?
No, the first live show I've ever been to is actually Alan Jackson and Shania Twain. Country music was my first love.
That's cool. So you did that with who? Did your parents take you to that?
Yeah. I was like 6 years old or something.
Oh, that's cool though.
Yeah. But
did you love country music back then, or was it something that you and your parents both listened to?
Yeah, I still love country music. I think the songwriting is just unmatched.
I think it's great. It really is cool. And I will tell you. Oh, go ahead. I want you to. No, I was just going to say, Alan Jackson was so nice to my mom and dad. When my dad was still alive, my parents loved country music, and I set it up so they could go and meet him, and also Reba. Where they got to go and like meet them. And my really great friend Steve Schnurr, now who works at Games, and has been working there for years. Steve Schnurr worked with Arista and those labels at the time, and he was really nice to me because we were friends. We'd go to hockey games and Jersey Devils games together. And he was like working with all those country artists as well. And I said my mom and dad would love to do that. And my dad, of course, he had been ill. So he hooked them up. And it was just such a nice thing to do, to see my mom and dad get to go hang. Because my mother was in love with Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they, so they were big country fans. But I mean, country music's great. I love it too. Old country music. And there's a lot of new artists that I think are great as well.
Right.
There's only two kinds of music, and you know this, Mitchy. It's music that moves you and music that doesn't. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. It's there's something for everybody, but I've never been one of those guys who could dismiss any genre of music because it's great songs are great songs, great performances are great performances.
100%.
But what about if you had to like name three of your favorite shows that you've ever seen live, what would they be?
Oh man, definitely number one is Bruce Springsteen on his, I believe it was his 63rd or 64th birthday at the Meadowlands. That was he played for 4 hours or something. His mom brought out cake. It was like a whole thing. It was awesome. And it was right around the time that Clarence had passed, which was incredibly sad. And sorry, my dog's coming up here.
What's your dog's name?
This is Beans.
Beans. Hey, what's up, Beans? How you doing? Beans is cute.
Yeah.
Remember that show? Was that when he's doing 10th Avenue Freeze Out and he says, and the big man joined the band and they stop and he points to the sky?
Yep.
Brilliant. I love that. I mean, there was, I think, more than one show, but I went to one of them.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
On his birthday, that was amazing. Another one was I saw Green Day at the Webster Hall Studio on Halloween, which was or the day before Halloween or something. That was insane. And then the other one was the third one that I saw Blink-182 at Music Hall of Williamsburg.
Yeah.
When they first came back together with Tom, and that was I brought actually our manager Dennis. It was with me, and Renee Mata hooked us up with the tickets. He hit me up that day.
He's the guy that always hooks. Renee gets things done. And let's give a shout out to Dennis too for helping make this happen today, which is great. We can connect.
Renee that morning was like, "Hey man, you want to see Blink tonight?" I was like, obviously, 100%. It was like the hardest show to get into. Like it was like, and then he hits me. He's like, "Yo, I got to deal with something. Like I got to deal with something. I can't go, but 2 tickets are under your name." And I was like, "What? Okay, sick." And it was amazing. It was such a night.
Yeah, that's great. And Music Hall Williamsburg is great. You know what else? Those shows in the basement, which is called the Studio at Webster Hall, were amazing. And you and I probably passed each other on the way to the bathroom or rubbed against each other because it was so crowded. You know what I mean? It was a heat bath, but it was amazing, the Halloween Green Day show. I remember because I'm sure you knew the guys that booked the Webster Hall too. There were a bunch of guys that they were such. I loved all those guys. When they sold it, I was a little bummed for them because they'd worked there for so many years and they were such sweethearts. We did a bunch of stuff. I shot there, many things. But we also did things with RXP. I mean, that basement, what was so great about that place is, Elvis Presley recorded there, Sinatra recorded there, Harry Belafonte. The Stones used both the East and West Coast RCA studios. That was the RCA studios, that basement.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. So, like, all these records that were recorded, like even some of Elvis's soundtracks, were done in that studio. And it had that little stage, but it was amazing, you know? And we would, for the radio station, we had like Cage the Elephant play on there, Spoon, Florence and the Machine. I mean, I can't even remember everyone who played there. But that Green Day show, and then another one with the National were the two most crowded I ever saw that place.
Yeah.
But I do love that it always
was crazy. I also saw another crazy one at the studio was the Fall Out Boy reunion show when they came back together. That was nuts as well.
Oh yeah, that was sick. I mean, I couldn't make it that night, but I bet it was incredible.
Yeah.
So Mitchy, we've got a few minutes left. Like for you, what is your goal? I mean, what do you want to do as soon as we get done with this? And as soon as the COVID thing does, I mean, do you think you're going to do your greatest live show ever?
Yeah, it's literally going to be the best day of my life.
Yeah.
The show is the first thing I'm going to do, hands down. Yeah.
I think it's going to be amazing. I just, you know that those are going to be the greatest shows of all time for all the artists. And people are just miss being on the road so much and just being on stage and doing what you do, you know?
Definitely.
And tell me, when is the release date of Conversations with Myself About You? Have you guys picked one yet?
A week away, August 28th.
All right, fantastic. So people will get the whole record. It'll be out on Friday, wherever, you know, there'll be vinyl available of it, of course.
Yeah.
And then it'll be however you consume your music, you know, it'll be on all platforms.
All platforms.
You know, everything, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, of course, you know, everywhere. And is there anything special about the vinyl? Tell me about the vinyl version for your fans out there.
There's a couple versions. There's some cool like splatter paint. You know, we did some. There's some cool stuff, but we'll leave it for the surprise if you get it.
All right, that sounds great. Well, we're looking forward to it. You know, Mitchy, I wanted to tell you thank you so much for taking an hour of your day to come hang out with me. I know, you know, it's been a little crazy in general, but I do look forward to getting to running into your shows again and coming to see you play. I'm excited about when that happens, man, you know, because I knew I could depend on you and all our friends, you know, like, Dylan from Rad Horror. Of course, he's got his new thing and just, you know, he's been doing since then. But I remember when we first started and all the guys that were in town, like, you know, like you said, like Dreamers and Morgan and, everybody, that was around here, just so many people that all hung out with each other. And I love that scene here. For that very reason in LA, because, you know, everybody goes out and supports each other, and it still exists, that kind of camaraderie. And I think it's less competitive and people wanting to bring each other up and supporting each other. And I love that. It's a real warm, beautiful thing. Yeah. Why we love music so much, right?
Amen. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Mitchy, thanks so much. Is there anything else you want to say to your fans before we say goodbye?
No, man, just check out the record. Thanks for having me. You know, we can't wait to get back to playing shows. Miss everybody.
Yeah. Well, we miss you, man, and we can't wait to see you live. Mitchy, thanks so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna let you go, but thanks for being my guest this week. Really great catching up with you. All right, you got it. And we're excited about the new one. We are really pumped about it. All right, everybody. The album is called Conversations with Myself About You. Mitchy Collins from Lovelytheband. Such a great guy, great talent, and so awesome to have him on today. Thank you so much for watching In a Lonely Place. If you haven't seen the show before, we named it after a Humphrey Bogart movie from 1950 and a Smithereens and New Order song. Both different songs, same title. Because when we started the show, I was just in my living room doing this during COVID on lockdown. We're still locked down, pretty much, but now I'm in the studio over at Rolling Live Studios. And if you like the show today, go and check it out. Go to Rolling Live Studios and look up on YouTube In a Lonely Place. There are so many episodes with everybody from, in the last few weeks, we've had Dreamers, White Reaper, Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless, Youngblood's been on here, and then tons of other artists, Matt Sorum, Ed Roland from Collective Soul. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's been so many people on here. Butch Walker. Can't name them all right now, but I can tell you that they're worth checking out. So go watch some of the past episodes. We really appreciate it. I'm Matt Pinfield. I want to say thanks for watching today. Of course, we'll be back with you next Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. The High Low Show is coming up next with Danita Sparks, the legend from L7. I want to, of course, thank Lzzy Hale, who was on with Raise Your Horns before me. We'll all be back with you, of course, next week. Keep the music in your heart. I'm Matt Pinfield. Thanks for watching In a Lonely Place. I'll see you soon.